Okay, here's a second example of rational inequalities. This is a little bit more complicated, but the process is still the same. The two steps are basically to find the critical values because it's already related to zero, find where it's either the function itself is zero or has an x-intercept, or where we have an undefined value or vertical asymptote. And then we'll decide, are we above or below the axis in between those. So the x-intercepts, I'm going to take my numerator, just as we always do with a fraction, and set it equal to 0. I do get an x-intercept in this case. I get the intercept 0. X is 0, y is 0. So 0, 0 is where I'm going to be crossing the x-axis. Now, if you were to multiply this thing out on the bottom, you're going to have an x squared. So you have the numerator has degree 1, the denominator has degree 2. So we know that our horizontal asymptote is going to be the line y equals 0 or the x-axis, but in this case we actually cross it. All right, then what about the vertical asymptotes? Well, the vertical asymptotes are where the denominator is 0. Fortunately, this one's already given to me in factored form, so I can quickly see that x equals positive 1 or x equals negative 3 are going to be the vertical asymptotes because that's going to make these two factors equal to 0. Well, the good news is I already have this thing graphed for us over here using a graphing utility. So you can put it in your graphing calculator, but you should already know kind of what those graphs should look like. All right, so if I can get my little line to work here. Remember, this is where my vertical asymptote, this is the x equals negative 3 would be. And then my x equals 1 would be here. So that's why those graphs are getting kind of close to that point. And then we have a horizontal asymptote, you can see, is the x-axis, but we do cross it at that point, 0, 0. Okay, so now to answer this actual question, besides the graph, that's the fun part, but here's the answer to the question. Where are we greater than 0? Well, if I'm greater than 0, I want my y's greater than 0. That means I want positive y's. So if I'm looking for positive y's, then I want to look for where is it above the axis. All right, well, it's not above the axis before the vertical asymptote of x equals negative 3. It is above the axis until I get to the intercept here of 0, 0. So part of my answer is going to be from negative 3 up to 0. Once I hit the x-intercept, it starts going negative. I don't want to include those endpoints because it's undefined at negative 3 and it's 0 at 0, and I want it strictly greater than 0. All right, so then I cross over the vertical asymptote of x equals 1, and it looks like everything is positive, 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 and it's never going to cross the x-axis again. So the rest of my answer would be from the intercept 1 to positive infinity. And there you go.